What you are looking at in front of you is an example of someone who put in literal blood, sweat, and tears into a job for over 4 years, almost 5, just to be fired for being a good employee. Let me explain. See, my employment for Planet Fitness started in 2019, April of 2019, and through that year, through 2020 and our shutdown when we were unemployed for months, to our reopen later on that year, to convincing members to stay with us throughout that first 2 years-ish, and leading into 2023. I had worked my ass off for so long. Mind you, I was passed over originally by my first manager for someone who she thought apparently was better suited for the job, who quit the job within a week because he couldn't take it. It was a gym. Not the point. Point is she passed me over, but then gave me a call a few days afterwards offering me a different position because I applied for overnights. But then I was called, I was given a hire for what was called a flex time frame, which was just the 10 to 3 o'clock time frame where it's busy and they needed help. No big deal. Problem is that I was kind of tossed in and I didn't get much training. Like, none really. I was taught how to go beep for check-ins, how to greet people, and how to look at their screen when they come in. That was pretty much it. Oh, and how to work the keypad for the black card spa. Super easy, but nothing about the actual job itself, just a couple of meaningless tasks. And for about a week or so, I was just doing that from 10 to 3. No big deal. But I wasn't learning anymore because during those time frames, all of my coworkers were busy and my assistant manager and manager were always in the office doing what they needed to do. So, whatever. Got to the point where I wanted to learn and no one was teaching me, so I decided to start tinkering around on the computers every chance I got until I taught myself how to work everything that a basic employee could do. I mean, if it didn't require a password, I taught myself how to do it. And after about a week and a half or so, I was moved to overnights because the guy she hired over me quit because he couldn't handle, cleaning for 10 hours every night because he wanted to get 10 hours of work done and 2, which, by the way, isn't difficult, but he wanted to do it all at once, so he was making himself sick by overuse of over surroundings of chemicals and their fumes. Really dumb mistake, but not everyone's a janitor. Not the point. Point is that when I was put on overnights, that gave me so much time to tinker around and learn more about what I could possibly do in my position. And since overnights were practically dead, there was like maybe a total of 4 people in a 10-hour span. It just gave me that much more time. Now, I'm going to put a pin in that real quick. Because when I was first moved to overnights, my very first night there, overnight, I clocked in. My partner clocked in because it was 2 people per night. But he clocked in, waited an hour, and it was like, hey, I'm going to take a break. I'll be back later. And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. There's nobody there. I didn't care. He was gone for 7 hours and then showed up just in time to clock out and leave before our manager showed up. And that happened literally every night I worked with him. It happened every time I worked with anyone overnight. They left for hours on end and came back, and I would in fact inform management of them doing so. Nothing would happen. Well, one of them was in his car a lot. Not, but in his car for hours on end, which I would also report, and nothing would happen. Oh, there was an employee who would always come in drunk with firearms, and nothing would happen when I would report that. It's like I was the only person who cared, and then when I finally got sick of seeing things that could harm people and myself, I raised my voice once, and I almost got fired for it. Whatever. That was like 2 years in. Continue to 2023 in April. Almost exactly 4 years being at Planet Fitness, and 2 years of trying to move up in the company, being rejected every time. I was finally offered the position of assistant manager, which I had been gunning for so long. Like, since my first boss had to retire, and her assistant was basically running the place, and when she was rejected for being promoted, she left. Then we had a new manager come in, saw that I was the most knowledgeable of everyone there and how long I had been there, and yet I still wasn't chosen to be promoted. He hired someone from the outside. Then he was fired. Not the new assistant manager, but the new manager that hired said assistant was fired. They brought in someone new. She loved me to fucking death, but she couldn't promote me because we already had said assistant manager. And don't get me wrong, I had no problem with him. He was good at his position, even being a new employee. And newsflash, I was the one that trained him on everything non-managerial. Point is, after that manager left for personal reasons, and our assistant at that time, he applied to get promoted, and once again, they passed him by. They rejected him. So he did the exact same thing. He turned in his resignation. So I did what I've been doing for the past few years. Jumped on it. I went through 4 mock interviews, 2 real interviews, and a shit ton of one-on-one time with the manager from a different location who was watching over us periodically at the time. Felt like I had his support, all that jazz. Felt like I had everyone's support. The interim, not interim manager, but the Shawnee manager that kept coming in to help us. The employees were on my side. All of the members were guaranteed on my side. And on my final interview, I was informed that the reason why people kept getting rejected was because they can't just willy-nilly promote someone from within. They have a system where they have to hire a certain number of people from outside versus promoting from inside. It was a bunch of bullshit. But whatever, I listened to it, I took it in stride. And then a week after my final interview, the newest manager that we had, who was finally hired, trained, and put with us full time, she was with us for about 2 weeks. And during her training time frame with us, and during her official time with us, she noticed just how hard of a worker I was, and she officially offered me the assistant manager position. Finally, 4 damn years into my tenure at Planet Fitness. And don't get me wrong, it was satisfying, to say the least. Now, mind you, throughout this entire time frame, as someone who's had my YouTube channel since 2020, I also, during time frames, would get complaints during the day. It wasn't me specifically, but it was the entire crew getting complaints that no one was doing their jobs here and there. And I got sick of being labeled into that, so I started recording and going live when I would work and clean at work. So I had visual proof of this. I had been doing this since 2021, all the way up till 2023. It was not a secret. And I continued doing said things while I was assistant manager. Hell, the first thing I did when I got signed my offer letter was get on my TikTok and was like, what am I up to? Being assistant manager. That's what I'm up to. And no big deal. I had posted plenty of videos of me doing my job. I had been posting plenty of videos of me in uniform promoting my channel. No one ever had trouble with it. Hell, we had new equipment installed, and I live streamed the instruction for us employees to work the equipment. I was live streaming it, recording it, and my management and higher up management from corporate were there as I was doing it. Never said a word. Fast forward to October. 6 months after finally achieving my goal of assistant manager. And I'm trying to figure out why no one's doing their jobs, since I wasn't allowed to do the physical activity that I used to do because of my physical restraints, because I'm physically damaged that I can't do what I used to. Hadn't been able to for a long time. And so every once in a while I would check the cameras to see who was saying they were doing their job and wasn't. You get the idea. And so I started doing so, and I started contacting said employees that I was catching in their lies. I was contacting them directly. It wasn't through the group chats or anything like that. I was directly contacting them. Like, hey, I know you marked this off, but I'm looking at the cameras during your shift, and you are literally not doing this or doing any of it. You're doing this the entire time. And their response was, well, I don't know what to tell you because I know I didn't. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you because I'm looking at this camera from 5:45 all the way to 11 o'clock, and you're in this section never leaving. Neither here nor there. Point is after that, at some point on one of my breaks, I decided to prop up my phone and made a little PSA for any employee being called out by their management who has it on camera. And I was like, little word to the wise. If your management says they caught you on camera not doing something that you said you did, take the L and just learn from the experience. Simple, right? Well, give it a few days. October 29th, which is the day I'm recording this, actually, I am at work at what I had a feeling was about to be my final day, because I spent my entire shift, like literally my entire shift, in so much pain that I was crawling on the floor in the goddamn gym, begging for help, texting my employees, texting my management, begging someone to come in and help me, because again, I was literally on the floor crawling. And no one answered, and I didn't see anyone until 3 o'clock that afternoon, before I begged for help to my car to go home. Then 7 a.m. the next morning, I just woke up, and my boss calls me and tells me I've been fired because of that video. Said that I made a video while I was in uniform, even if I was on break, and the fact that I posted it, They were using that as the excuse to fire me, and in the paperwork it said, I shit you fucking not, unsatisfactory job performance. The one who was there for 10 to 12 hours a day, every day, working, doing physically demanding tasks that I should not have been doing, that I should not have had to do. Crawling on the floors just to make sure the place was clean. Spent 2 years begging people not to give up their gym memberships because things would go back to normal. I did so much for that company. So much for that location. Let's put it that. Let's be specific. I trained literally everyone that came in from 2021 all the way to 2023. Every single employee I trained. And they threw me into the garbage because I called out someone who wasn't doing their job. So effectively, that was me being fired for being good management. So, the lesson of that story. I know a lot of people are going to be like, the lesson of the story is don't make a video while you're in uniform and post it. That's not the lesson. Again, I was on break, meaning legally I could do whatever the hell I damn well pleased. As long as it wasn't, illegal. And it didn't make the company look bad because there's already plenty of things online that make Planet Fitness look bad. What I was doing was telling employees not to fucking lie to your management when they call you out with proof. And that was the excuse to fire me. Now, here's the fun part. Remember back in the beginning of the video when I said during my interviews, I was told that they couldn't just willy-nilly hire someone from within, or they couldn't just promote someone from within, and they had to have a balance of outside and inner of hires. The person they replaced me with was in the morning crew that I trained. So you got to have a balance of who you hire / promote, which means you can't promote and then promote someone else and then promote someone else, because I was specifically told if they promote from within, then they have to do it from outwards to have balance. And I'm like, whatever, don't really care. But then they went and promoted from within someone that I trained from that location. Yeah, makes sense. Makes a lot of fucking sense, doesn't it? So yeah. 24 days after having my newest baby, and they knew it because I took time off for her birth, they went after me for trying to be a good example. Moral of the story is, don't put all of your work or all of your heart and soul into your fucking job, no matter how much you enjoy it, because it will not be worth it, and they'll just get rid of you for whatever reason they felt like. Whatever.